if you were to ask yourself, is this is the relaxation more important than the scariness, the fear? Which one has dominance?
Right now, it's fear, but there's something that isn't touched by it.
What isn't touched by it? What is that something?
I have no idea. Maybe the knowing of it.
Yep. Okay. Does that feel right for you when you say that?
Yeah.
That was another significant one. Is the value of being able to trust what you tell yourself and what you feel about something, your intuition. This is good stuff, worth developing, and so on. So if you trust how you feel about it, or if you trust what your intuition tells you about it, you can move forward fairly rapidly with that. So can you see that the taste of relaxation, of peacefulness that is there, even though it might be right at the moment, might be in the background, that tells you something about the quality of where you're going. The fear also tells you something. That tells you that it might be a rough adventure to go down that rabbit hole. Does that sound right to you? What does your intuition say about that?
Yeah.
And I guess that part of you would like to see what's behind that fear. Because the same part of you that experiences the peace and relaxation tells you that what's behind that fear is worth going through the fear to get to it. What does your intuition say about that?
Yeah, there's a willingness to feel it, to
Mm-hmm.
but I feel like also there is like expectation
Of?
something.
Yeah, okay. So more anticipation than expectation. With anticipation, you can not know what's coming, but with expectation, you've got an idea of what you want to come at least. So would you say it's more anticipation than expectation?
Maybe it's like a form of resistance, like
Yes, yeah. Well, of course, the fear is a form of resistance, isn't it? But what do we do with resistance? We don't resist it, do we? What we do with resistance is that we give it a hug. We embrace it because it's trying to look after it. We need to thank it for trying to look after us. That's what resistance is, isn't it? It's not an enemy. It's a friend. It's a bodyguard. Literally a bodyguard.
I feel also like this expectation is it's like this feeling when there's tension build up and I felt something releasing. It's like this anticipation of like something to just to blow up or to
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
Is that the mind wanting a conclusion, a satisfying outcome, a
yeah,
release?
it's holding and it just wants to it's
Yeah.
relax and
But the fear says, no, 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 you're not going to relax.
the fear say this is endless. This is
Yeah, that's a good one. You can't argue with that one, can you? Yeah. So what does your fear know of time, really? I'm not, I don't for a moment discount what you just said, that it seems like the fear is saying, I'm going to be here forever and ever. But when you look at it squarely and ask the fear, what do you know of time? What's the answer?
I don't know.
uh, what I'm saying is that the fear is the fear is the fear is the fear, and that knows nothing other than this horrible sensation that it uses like a baseball bat to intimidate. But the idea of time, of it lasting forever, doesn't come from the fear. It's added to the sensation that you're calling fear. So that's a story that it will go on forever. So what would be the purpose of a story like that? Would that story not be saying to you, no point, it's going to be here always? Don't do it. It's part of the resistance, isn't it?
Don't do it.
Don't do it. Yeah. 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 So we can talk like that's something not you controlling you, but that pretty quickly is seen to be absurd, isn't it? Doesn't it? Right? It's not anything not you controlling you. These are thoughts that come up that are generated by the idea that if we go past this fear, it's going to be a rough ride. Does that seem right for you?
It's more like the fear itself, the endless thing. it's like it's either the fear is endless or there's expectation that it will end somehow and I will be free from it. And it's just this or this.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Ramiz, I missed the beginning. I was a bit late. Can I just ask you, you probably already mentioned it, what does the fear have to say? That it would, was it just about ending? And does it want to end, or is it not about ending? It's just the fear that is there, but does it have an idea of how it would go away? How, if certain things changed?
I think my mind explored all like probabilities. Like I ask like what this sensation wants, and whatever it comes up with, and I imagine that, and I ask, will this solve it? Like, will this be the answer? And it is not. And it's
Could you give it other words than fear? Because a fear is, I mean, each word label we use implies, I mean, is perfectly valid, but perhaps there could be other words that also describe, because you're describing a permanent sensation that you feel is always present in the body. Is that correct?
yeah, it feels like no. Sometimes it's no, like no scared. Sometimes it's no anger. Sometimes just no victim mindset.
But underlying that, how are you feeling? How does it feel to be in walking around or waking up in the morning or sitting down? How does it feel to be having those thoughts, but actually in your body with those sensations? Where can they be found? Is it an all-over experience? Is it like a sort of tingling type of clenching experience?
It's like a vibration.
Mm-hmm. Can you be with that? Could it be that, could it be that now you're looking deeper and it's like it's there to not to be pushed away, not necessarily, since you haven't been able to find a reason for it to, there are no particular things that really need to change. It's just an overall sensation about life. I mean, it's possible that it goes way back to, pre-conscious, pre-verbal, but those are all, stories. But what is really present is this vibrationary, energetic, or in the body, hard to distinguish actually where it is, whether it's within you or describing. Can you just be with that without the label and say, oh, this is so curious, and see what happens.
Sometimes there is acceptance of it.
You don't need to
And
accept it. You don't need to reject it. It's getting closer in so that you're not observing it as something, because it's part of the living experience as much as if you're, it's part of the living, it's like it just what is then and there, and then there's a thought, an attention going, and when there's an attention going towards the fear with a thought, it's taking you away from the full experience and allowing thoughts to come to change the experience, because there's a thought that there's something wrong here. Some long-term thought of this is, if we look at things binary, this is either this is an aversion, it's to get away from. But it's there, so to be with it as, the only thing I can think of is to be as close as you can, so that your full attention is in that experience of the sensation in little moments, and then watching that energy, because it's there, and it's like it's there to be received, not accepted. And you can also say, I don't want, you can also reject the idea that you would accept it because you want to get rid of it. But being there with those thoughts that you want to get rid of it, and then go back into the sensation itself.
I'm interested, Ramez, in what did you feel when you accepted it? Those times when there was acceptance there, what happened?
it didn't feel like I'm doing the accepting. It's just
Did it feel like resistance to it was suspended?
it's more like the sensation is there, and it's kind of, it's like it's not mine. It's just.
So did that mean that you were not responding to it in ways you would have if it felt like yours? Did you respond to it differently as a result of that?
There wasn't any response. It's just, it's there.
If you look very carefully into that tingling, is there any place in your body, in your torso, where when you look into it, that you can feel a slight clenching? Because the tingling could be a layer on top of some other sensation, which it could be almost like a protecting mechanism, protecting sensation.
I don't know, this seems a little bit complex.
Well, tingling implies sort of like a sort of static energy, which is unsettling. But within that, and it's a question of looking or being open to, is there anything else within this in the body that could show itself? Because some other emotions, some other sensations that you hadn't noticed within the tingling or behind the tingling, however you want to describe it.
It seems like
actual type, maybe in the gut or in the heart or in the front of your body, in the back of the body, some tensing.
I feel like most of the sensations I have are up here, like shoulders, neck, throat, head, and it feels like there's layers of protective emotions and below emotions, like there's anger protecting sadness, sadness protecting fear, and it's like layers under layers, and it feels like it's moving up and down, up and down. And it's mostly like here in the throat, and I feel fear, and shoulders contract, and when the fear relaxes, it comes up again in the head. Feels like anger, and goes again to the throat, and it feels freeze, and it just cycle of this movement.
It reminds me, do you know the poet Rumi?
Yeah.
Yeah, he wrote The Guest House. I'll try and get it and post it in the chat with all the emotions that come through, and that they're all sort of waiting to be felt. So it's not just fear.
Yeah.
Did you say that the fear was on top of the sadness, or the sadness was on top of the fear? Which way did you say that?
It's random. It's just it's like whatever feeling is here, there's something underneath it.
Yeah. But you said you kind of gave it a layer, that and the top layer was anger, and then the next layer was fear,
Not necessarily.
and the bottom layer was sadness. Was that the way you said it? Does that feel like it's the way?
I was just describing it as an example, but it just doesn't have an order. It just it moves.
So they can be present at the same time.
I suppose, yeah.
Is this still processing, or can I come in?
Of course you can come in. Yeah. Yeah.
Not sure if Rames had finished. Did you finish, Rames?
Yeah, go on. It's okay.
You sure? I can wait. I just thought you maybe didn't.
No, I have nothing else to say.
Yeah, I just want to share this, some anxiety, and it's as good as Ramesh was talking, because I managed to drop more into the body, which was nice to feel that. And I've got some stomach problems at the moment. There's a big mess appearing. Well, it's been appearing quite a while, but now it's becoming quite apparent. I'm ex-alcoholic. I've been sober 13 years, and my ex-husband was alcoholic, and he stopped and then he continued drinking. And I've always kept in touch with my stepdaughter and grandchildren for the last 5 years and built a relationship, and he turned away from his family, so I helped to get through that as well, or we helped each other in a sense to understand and process. And she didn't ever want, he'd cut off from them, big nasty, you know, that alcoholic way, and she didn't ever want anything to do with them again because he'd done it before in the past. And in the last sort of year, she rang him and brought him back into her life. And since then, she's completely changing, and it's pretty obvious to me that she's going down that track. And now her mother's dragged into it, and that's falling apart. So basically, she's now with Paul and his mum, who drinks a lot, and she's going into that world. And I quite obviously see the trait and all the traits coming out, and all the process that I went through, that my husband went through, and the beginning stages. And also her mum's ringing me because she's feeling the loss of her daughter. I'm feeling the loss of a stepdaughter. And it's bringing up anxiety for me, and a lot of different parts. I mean, it sounds really terrible. It is pretty terrible, but at the same time, I'm glad it's coming up, because there's unresolved things that I haven't looked at before, probably with my husband as well. So it's all, you know, in the story, in the dream, like this has been presented now. How am I going to pick it all apart and feel the emotions, you know, as we were talking about with Ramesh, and her mum rang me this morning. And you know, I've also been in groups that are family and friends of alcoholics, because I was the wife of an alcoholic, so I had to go through that process too and get out of that marriage. And so basically that's the story. And a bit of me wants to cut off from the whole thing. It's just a mess again, like it was with my husband and the family. A bit of me wants to be there for Hannah, but she's cutting me. I can tell she's not there emotionally anymore, and that's painful to be around. But then I can't, and I would probably just say, I just can't be around this anymore. I've been around alcoholism enough, I can't. But I don't feel I can do that because there's kids involved, and I love the kids and they love me. And I just wanted to put it out there and see. It's kind of, I think the problem is when I'm involved with it, like this morning, my head starts rattling again and the anxiety comes back. And it's only because of this meeting that I've managed to drop down into the body again. And I don't want to keep having to go up there into the mess. And I don't know how to stay out of it, I suppose. I mean, I hardly ever see her. It's not like it's a one-way relationship, because she never rings me. She doesn't text me. I text her once a week to be consistent and ask her if she wants to go for a coffee. And it's a very one-way when I go and see her. So it's uncomfortable being with her. So I just wonder if anybody's got any input on that. I'm a bit of a loss with it all, to be honest. It's a bit of, other than keeping coming back into my body and trying to stay out of the merry-go-round in my head with them all living in my head.
Well, getting into the body is definitely the quickest way to get out of the head.
Mm,
But getting into your body in a skillful way is where the value is.
mm,
So as much as all of this is horrible, it is also an opportunity for you.
exactly. Yeah, I know.
If you
I
were
see
still
that.
in the non-dual thing, you could say, well, life is giving you this opportunity. But
Yeah.
it doesn't matter who's given it to you. There it is. There's this thing that's happened. And it's like there's an old, I think it's a Christian thing or a religious thing or whatever, that you're never going to get loaded with more than you can handle. Even if it feels like you can't go any further, you can.
Yeah.
If it's given to you, you can. Yeah, simple as that.
Mm. I don't feel overwhelmed by it because
Oh, great. Yeah.
I do have a choice in it. I can cut off. There is some choice in it, but I feel a bit, obviously this part of me just does not want it at all. But there is a part of me wants to unpick it and unravel that part of my life, because there's some bits still trapped in there. So I see it as completely an opportunity, but it's a little bit, where do I start with this opportunity?
Oh yeah, it's huge, isn't it? Yeah, I get that. Yeah. Absolutely huge. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's good now since I've been speaking to you in these groups. I'm unlocking emotions. I'm actually going into my body probably for the first time.
Yep.
It's not pleasant, but it's necessary because that's part of my non-dual journey now. I've done all the unbound awareness, being in that space, and now it's downward into anything traumas that are still trapped.
Yep.
And this is a trauma that's trapped. Let's clean out. I'm cleaning out. Cleaning house. Don't like cleaning house.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a bit like.
But listen, one of the things that kind of adds to the burden that's not necessary is this idea that you have to make decisions and that you actually have choices. Now, that's just mental noise, those things. The reality of it is that they're mental noise. I know that they seem real, but when you see that, and I think you can, when you see that you don't really make decisions about what to do. Circumstances make those decisions for you. You know, that your brain it works it out based on what it knows, on the evidence that it's got, on its history, on all of that stuff. And that's just one of a million conditions involved in whatever's going to turn up. But you can drop the labor, the burden of having to make a right decision about what to do. You don't get to decide what to do. You just get to watch what happens.
I think as you're saying that, one of the things that's coming to the top for me of all this is the last thing I said to my husband was, I just want honest relationships. I just want to be honest about everything, and that doesn't happen with you. So, well, it's a yo-yo. We're never going to change that. I'm out. Perhaps not in that harsh way, but that I definitely said, I just want honest relationships, and that's always stuck with me. And with Hannah, my stepdaughter, I can't have that anymore. I'm treading on eggshells around her because I know with alcoholics it doesn't work to talk about alcoholism because she won't admit.
Yep.
Yeah.
But what about your grief in letting go of that which you actually haven't got hold of anyway, that relationship with Hannah? I don't mean you have to end it. I don't mean ending it. But I mean not that struggle you've got to keep a hold of that thread that's there. You don't need to do that because It's an
I
illusion.
think it's more fear than
Yeah.
grief.
Fear of what will happen. Will you feel responsible if she goes totally the wrong way?
No, I won't feel responsible, but
It'll be sad, won't it? Definitely sad to see
it's
it
sad.
happen.
It's tragic. It's
Yeah, of course it
tragic.
is. Yeah, but there's tragedy all
But
around. We
I
swim
feel
in
like
tragedy.
she's a repeat of me. It's like watching what I did
And
exactly.
that's even worse when you know, when you could,
Yeah.
if she would listen to you, you could fix
Yeah.
it. That makes it
Yeah.
even harder, eh? Well, that wouldn't happen either, you know.
Yeah.
People,
So the problem I has when I go and see her, I'm kind of acting.
Yep.
And I can't talk about the alcoholism. And it's the only way I get to see the kids because they won't come out with me on their own because they don't do that.
So you only want honest relationships, but you can't be honest yourself because of the circumstances.
Yes.
You can't tell them what you're really feeling, can you?
No,
No.
no, that's the
Oh,
problem.
that's a
Really.
bit of a betrayal, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what it feels like. Feels like I'm stuck with that.
Mm.
I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place in the.
Yeah. And you know what?
I'm also scared to say to her, Hannah, you're going down the wrong road. You're going down alcoholism, because I'm scared of my ex-husband because he was abusive and threatened my life once. And yeah. So.
But you know what? You know that there's no point in saying that. There's no point in pursuing that. It's going to happen. What's going to happen? What's going to happen? You can say you don't want it, and all you do is burden her with something extra. Probably drives her to drink. I don't know, but there's an irony in it, isn't there? Yeah.
Yeah.
I just would like to share also, it's really, really helpful to put the question. It's hard when when you're seeing all this, but it's like the question is, what am I projecting onto this? Allowing, as Pernilla would say, allow others to be free, let them be free, and then take everything that your thought, all of your thoughts about it, and that fear, and that maybe that hasn't been fully processed through what you lived through, because you don't ever want that to repeat. And so there's more looking in that. It's so interesting to because then it brings in some curiosity too into the rather stuck thing of like, how am I projecting? What am I projecting? What is my fear? What would I have needed in the situation to have, protected me?
I do know that, Rowena. I know what she needs. I know she needs.
But what do you need, or what would you have needed at the time? You know what she needs, but you.
Well, I know what she needs because I know what I needed. Okay. I needed to be loved. I needed to be cared for. I needed someone to just be with me.
Yeah.
But no, you're right. No, you're right, Rowena. I just need to go slow with this. You're right, because I could do with sitting down and really thinking about that rather than just coming back quickly. That's a good point. I could sit and think, what did I need then? Because it's not something I've looked at before. And that would be interesting for me to look at that. Because I'm coming back with an adult thing and what I think she needs, rather than I've been in that situation, what did I need? That's unlocked something there, actually. I can sit with that and have a look. And also, as we've been talking, what's also come up is seeing that anxiety is, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? What am I going to do? And just seeing that little mechanism is helping me, because that old trick, what am I going to do? And as Vince was saying, I can't remember what he said now, Vince, but it unlocked something. You have no decision in what you're going to do. And I know that this is forward projection of what am I going to do, what am I going to do, and I never do the same thing anyway at the time anyway. So there's two things there that I've just learned. One is the what do I do mechanism, watch out for that. And also I can sit with what did I really need at that time? What would I really have needed that I didn't have? Yeah.
Because the doing is always in response to that lack, that needing to be to receive love, to be seen, to be understood, and or however, whatever form that was being denied, and that little root can go quite far back. So
But I think what's happening is I've never seen her dad in her, and now I'm really seeing it and his traits, and it's reminding me of him. And I feel like I did then, you know, like there's just a brick wall sat in front of me. Every time I go and see her, she's like a brick wall. How are you? Okay. Have you done anything nice? No, not really. She doesn't ask any questions. She has total disinterest, yawns a lot, bored. She'd probably seen me out of duty, possibly. So with that, when I'm there, that's still coming up. What do I do when I'm there? I know, it's like I know I'll go next time and it'll be the same. So it is still coming up for me. How do I change?
So it's hugely like, how would it feel if you, I mean, I'm just trying to imagine you're going in that situation with an open heart and wanting connection, and then you've got that brick wall. I mean, how many times in your life can you go backwards to feel like with your husband, and even prior, where there was no reciprocity of feeling, or there was no feedback for you, that of love, and often it's a very delicate childhood wound that can only be held within ourselves. So it's really having the picture of how does it feel, not what she's doing, not what you're trying to rescue her from, but it's about the connection that you're not receiving, which is.
Yeah, it is. It's about the connection. But
so when you ask yourself the question that is triggered by whatever you imagine is happening with her, what you call that brick wall, and you don't have to be there in front of her to experience that. You can think, and that brick wall will appear, right? So when you bring that on, then you ask yourself, what would I have needed under the same circumstances? The answer to that will be that connection that you're talking about. That will be warmth and love and acceptance and those things, right? And here's the trick. You never gave them to yourself under those circumstances back then. It's not got to come from somebody outside you. It's going to come from, and when you do it now, it will have an element of forgiveness that you didn't think to do that for yourself, to give to yourself back then.
Yeah, because that brick wall, because there is no Hannah and the kids really, is there?
Mhm.
It's the brick walls in me.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
And that can appear, actually probably when I'm with her, it's not even that bad. It's in between when my mind's bringing up the brick wall.
Right. So that's
And
when
what
you need to
should I
ask
do?
yourself the question, what would I have needed under those circumstances? And then to give that to yourself now, just in a feeling way. Just, yeah.
Yeah, 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 because it's quite easy to bring up that brick wall.
Mm-hmm. But I'll bet you it's
The
a lot
brick,
harder
the
for
brick
you.
wall that wants to cut off, wants to run away.
Yep. And that
Drain.
wall is a projection, but what it's screaming out for is what you're not giving yourself, which is that warm embrace, that love, that forgiveness.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, because that's what I did with my husband. I just spent years trying to rescue him to run away from my feelings.
Yes, absolutely.
No, no.
Well seen. Very good. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
easy for us
I
to
knew
just
that as
blame
soon as
everybody else, isn't it?
yeah, I knew as soon as it ended, because there's me feeling, oh, he's got so many problems and he's so fucked up and everything. And then all of a sudden it's like the pink finger pointed back. You've got more.
Yeah, one
Time to look
forward
after
and
you.
three coming back. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So
And look at Kelly. She's beaming. She's got off on something that you've been talking about. Yeah.
Kelly and I are reflections of each other. It's uncanny at the similarities we go through in our lives. She's in the same situation.
Our life just
What did you
so
say?
I totally get what you're saying.
What did
I
you
said
say,
our lives are just emojis.
Yeah, it's weird. It is very. She's got the same situation in her life, so I'm talking for both of us, really.
You're talking for more than just the two of you, I tell you. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that need for love is like a little I'm not sure if you were there on Pernilla's call yesterday, but if
No.
you watched the video, I shared something because I was in the UK and I was with all my family. And then when I was leaving my mum, she had her 90th birthday. There was this sob that came up, and it passed because I suppose in a way it definitely wasn't the right. I mean, there was definitely, I said, probably something came down, not here, not now, but then I've been revisiting it since, and it was more, I got to this route. I didn't really want anything to change, but somehow it was a lack or a misunderstanding about what love was, because my family was a very do, it's like but not, my mother's never understood, she didn't receive it herself, and so there was this, I don't want to go because I'm looking for something from you, and it was I was unpacking that, and I was thinking things that had been missing, and also that it was linked with leaving the UK and having to live in Belgium and go back to my husband where things weren't very loving, and all the time that I really just hadn't been there in a somehow this subtle way of that was still there. I've been revisiting and revisiting, but there was still a point, and it was like a little dart in the heart, that, yeah, I'm sort of slowly just discovering deeper. So it's not something necessarily, and it's not to to give you anything like gloom and doom, but it's like what is revealed, it just reveals in the moment, and then we get on, and then it's like something else comes up, and it's like, I thought I'd fix that, and or I'd fix that or whatever, and then there's more which will come when the organism or whatever it is decides is ready. Yeah.
Absolutely.
There's always possibility of going deeper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I really do think this is a great, well, a part of me thinks it's a great opportunity. I love these IFS parts because that really makes sense. There's a part of me sees it an opportunity, and a part of me just hates it, But yeah, I think that brick wall in me and that hardness, fear, is something to conjure up that feeling and sit with that, and maybe look back on, now I'm able to, now that the doors to my memories seem to be unlocking a lot, and that's the relief, because it's been very blocked off. I can maybe go back in that door and have a look around how I felt.
Think of it slightly differently. It's the old habit of us believing in control, etc., where we say, I'm going to go in that door and have a look around. What will actually happen is that something will emerge from that door and reveal itself to you.
Yeah.
And you don't have to get out of the lounge chair. You don't have to go into that dark room.
Happening, Vince. That's what's happening. A load of bubbles of memories are coming up.
Yep.
From nowhere. I'm not going looking for them. They're just coming up. But I think when we were talking, what I meant was when we were talking, I could feel that, and it's probably to do with my stomach issues, because that's the area it's in, and I could feel that hard fear wall.
Yep. I love the use of, I find useful body language. And when you mentioned stomach then, I immediately got the phrase, there's something she can't stomach happening.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's interesting, yeah.
And also that what is labeled a brick wall has been protecting you and defending you, and it's not it also can be seen and felt, experienced, and then, is it really a brick wall? Is it really? It's just that it seems like that at the particular time, but then exploring into that and how it was needed. It was
absolutely.
So,
but that's a good line of inquiry, isn't it? What can't I stomach? When you said that, Vince, it's like, what is it I can't stomach?
And there you go. There's that curiosity, and that is the most healing thing that can happen. Curiosity, brilliant stuff. Yeah.
They always say, don't they, get curious. And that, because I know my illnesses are from this kind of thing, and the stomach.
Well, let's not call them illnesses. right? Not saying pretend anything, but let's look beneath the label. Let's look at what, if we refer to something that we used to call an illness, let's look at what it actually is, right? And when you do, it's way too complex to fit into that label that you've used to call it. Right? So it's not just illness, right? Guess where the word disease came from? Dis-ease.
Yeah.
Isn't that brilliant? Hey, I love that one.
Yeah, it's unease, yeah. This ease. Yeah. It's grumbling and growling and
Yes.
stomach. It's anger.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot there.
Yep.
I want to ask
There's
a
a lot
question.
Sorry, Ramos.
Um,
Carry on.
if we don't really choose anything, and if we don't really choose to wake up, does reality make the choice for us, or what?
What reality? See, there's not the, yeah, well, you might as well say, does God do it, or does consciousness do it, or does awareness do it, or whatever whatever word you want to come up with. I can't make any sense of that question. There's just no answer to, what. You see, I could say, oh, well, you do or you don't. But if we look at you do in more detail, again, the closer we get to it, the less able we are to squeeze it into the confines of a label. Because what is this waking up? I mean, you're more awake in some areas than I am, and I'm more awake in some areas than you are. But that's a nonsensical statement too. We can't define any of this stuff. So, it appears that you have some intent, not that you created that intent, but it's appeared, or there is some motivation, same thing. You didn't create motivation, but it might be there or it might not. So whatever it is that adds up to you waking up or not waking up, we certainly can't say it's caused by anything.
Is it completely chaotic? Isn't there like some kind of intelligence to what is
No,
happening?
well, see, it is there. No, but once again, that word intelligence can only be a concept that we overlay on something to describe it. It doesn't have any existence. It's an abstract noun, not a concrete one. Right? You can't bottle intelligence, can you? There's no way you can, no surgeon will find it, no matter how far, what they cut up or how much they cut up or what they reveal. They'll never find intelligence. They'll never find consciousness. Yet we can't deny their existence.
Or we can't define, we can't prevent ourselves from wanting to put labels on something that we can't understand and we can't perceive, and the only existence is through the concept, in a way, because we can't define, with our senses, direct experiencing, we can't find any of it. It seems like there's something called consciousness, or it seems like, but we can't pin it down. We can't we can't describe it or anything. It's always anything that's sort of had a label on is Lots of people write books on it, but often it just ends up with just, well, it's the same as spirituality. It's like I find it's like everything leads in a way to a dead end, except for looking with the senses, because anything that is named comes on top.
So instead of saying that something is real, which I just can hold no credibility for me whatsoever at this stage. So if, instead of saying, using the word real, if I say that something is actual, then it implies some kind of existence, whereas real implies some kind of quality of something. But if I ask you, how do you know that that the Sphinx in Egypt is real? All you can say is, I think it is. Somebody told me. I read it. I saw a picture. I saw a video, whatever. It's all about that Sphinx. It's not real to you, is it, at this stage? Neither right now is the sun or the moon outside. Neither is actually outside real for you at the moment. It's only something you can think about. So it only has conceptual existence at the moment. So the only thing that doesn't have conceptual existence, or rather that has something other than conceptual existence, is your current experiencing. Now that's a bit philosophical, because when you tell me about your current experiencing, it's not current, it's past. Yet that's the only thing that is actual to you at any time, is your current experiencing. And then if we look at that a bit closer, we get to not your current experiencing, but rather your interpretation of what your current experiencing is. And your interpretation of that is shaped by your history and a whole lot of other things, by your DNA, your history, your experience in the past, your imagination. Everything that's involved with you is part of what you say that experiencing is, that current experiencing. So maybe the only thing that's real to you is the story in your head that turns up. Not the content of it, but the fact that it exists as a story. The content, we know, is another concept. But this is a big one. This is a really, really big one. There is no objective external reality from the perspective of you, of that meat suit, that biological existence, which is also a concept, by the way, but the bits of it that you experience are not concept. So if I say touch your nose, you're going to experience a bit of sight of your finger. You're going to feel something in your finger. You're going to feel something in your nose. You know, that is your current experiencing. And that's where your focus is. When you're doing that, you've got zero awareness, until I say it, of your right foot. It doesn't exist for you until something triggers your focus to go towards it. And then that existence might be sensation, or it might be I don't know, what could it be besides sensation?
Well, a story, if say you've got a different color socks on, or you've broken your toe, or
Well,
you can't find your other
yeah.
shoe.
But most of that would be memory. But yeah, a story. Yeah. So it gets really tricky when you start talking about reality. It actually gets really tricky when you start talking about anything. Curiouser and curiouser. It's just amazing. Yeah. So I've hardly ever heard you talk, Kelly. Tell us, is your current experiencing different to what it was a month ago?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I've become obsessed with getting rid of myself. And yeah, you know, and then I found the two main parts to that were I'd get really high, think I was gonna, like, you know, be with the angel, or really low and beating myself up, thinking I was scum at earth, and I didn't know how to get out of that pattern. And I couldn't accept that they were both parts of myself. Because I was trying to get rid of self, so I wasn't accepting any part of myself. And just being able to see them, you know, have awareness, and be able to, like, I can see now why this part is here, the high part, because that's the part that motivates me. You know, the low part keeps me humble. So they're both good parts, and I can love them parts. And bring awareness to them, and it's just helped me so much, because I've always felt like I'm an alcoholic. You know, I've had quite a trauma. I've had a lot of stories that tell me I've had a lot of trauma. I'm working through that. I feel like I've dealt with a lot of the surface level. But the inner child, I haven't wanted to go anywhere near. It's kind of like the mother in me is like, shut up, you know, and the child doesn't trust the mother. And it's been really painful not being able to get to that, not knowing how to get to that. And I feel like now I can accept both parts and start, you know, looking at that slowly. I've not got anywhere to go. I feel like that's been took away now. I thought there was a massive rush, and I had to get somewhere. And I don't think there's as much pain in me as I thought. I think it's the stories that are the painful things. I was talking to my friend, she said, just look at the feelings, not so much the story, because the story's horrific. The stories, you know, are horrific, but the feelings aren't so bad. The feelings aren't so bad. The feelings are manageable. And I feel like, yeah, I feel like, you know, there's about a million zillion different versions of me, but I'm starting to see them now. And there's normally a pair, they're normally paired together, but I can, like, kind of beat referee in middle sometimes. It feels like that. But that feels really freeing.
Right.
That feels really freeing to be able to do that. You know, just have that space and, you know, welcome them parts of me that I've always like really disliked, you know. I'd probably say hated, not acknowledged, and didn't want. Whereas now I can see why they're there.
Yeah, great.
Some of them, not all of them. You know, and I don't want to get rid of me at the moment.
Right.
Me's okay. Me's okay. That, you know, I'm not obsessed with getting rid of me now.
Right. So those
I'm
shitty
quite
bits, you've got a different attitude towards those shitty bits, eh? You're
yeah.
feeling much more loving towards them. Is that going too far?
Yeah, no, I think in a sense, love, liking, amused,
Right.
humour's there. Don't
Like
know
that,
quite
yeah.
if love's there yet, but certainly acceptance, and you know, like, oh, this one's here again. You know, there's no judgment there, and that's huge for me.
The patterns of thinking that are really like black and white and hard and harsh, generally it's so childlike, you know. It's just that, like, the child, like, in a way, root that has been developed on when you know, one did something bad, and so therefore I am forever going to be a really bad person, you know, just for some, you know, maybe silly, but the childlike mind can make a huge, great big black and white inner war over nothing much, spilt milk. But it's so real and so harsh, and yeah, I think it's a good thing to in a way to feel. Somehow sometimes one can really feel the childlike quality of you know, the rage of a child when things don't go right, or the melodrama that's created from a small child that's still being kept in.
It just occurred to me that for children, and the younger you are, the more it is the case. It's binary. Things are either black or white.
Yeah.
There's no grey scale. It's either good or bad. You know, it's either really fantastic, a bit like you're up, or it's really bad, a bit like you're down. That's the way for a child, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, very much so. And I just feel like I don't feel like I've been ready to, like, even it's been like very shut the child up. No compassion there, no love or acceptance, and I've desperately wanted to you know, heal, but just haven't had the tools to be able to do that. And I feel like it's just a little bit more open now.
Yeah. If these things do happen in their own time,
Yeah.
you know, it's readiness, being ready, and feeling supported is important part of being ready. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really freeing last week. I was really tired, and I come on the meeting and just fell asleep because I've not been sleeping well. And I just had the most peaceful sleep. And normally, like, in my mind would be like, oh my God, I can't believe you fell asleep in a meeting. That's so bad. But it was just like really freeing. And then I kept like rousing and coming to a little bit. And I just heard somebody mentioning about, you know, all these little children and loving them. And it just really, really like resonated with me, and kind of give me that way of how to like do that.
Yeah. Well, that's a great one. You know, that kind of semi-sleep state is a really open state to take in stuff, and being in that state and in one of these meetings will be just the most beautiful, beneficial thing that could happen. You know, you would be really just soaking it in wonderfully, soaking in the atmosphere soaking in the
Mm.
honesty, soaking in the spontaneity and all of that stuff that's part of what you've been afraid of. It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I feel like a lot of, I just feel a little bit lighter, and that feels quite nice. I don't know why, because
You don't need to know
I like,
why. Yeah.
yeah, I like
Yeah.
to, that's another one that comes in. I like to analyze everything
Yeah,
and
yeah,
know,
yeah.
you know,
But it's a way of not
when,
feeling it. What and feeling it is so beautiful, eh? Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, it's lovely.
Good stuff. Yeah. How's things been for you, Lindy? I can't hear you. You're too far away from your microphone, I think. Oh. Hmm.
Is that any better?
Yes, that's got
Oh,
it.
perfect.
Okay, I've just realised I had my speaker on, and it takes a while to when I
Right.
switch it off to come back on, for me to come back on. Yeah, I don't know really. When Anne was speaking, I just felt so much. Oh gosh, there was so much there for me as well. Really recognised so much of what was being said, and I could just feel the anxiety just building and building and building, and just wanting to get away from it. There was a feeling of wanting to rescue out there, but actually made me realize I need to rescue in here.
Beautiful. Yeah.
But you know, it just seems to go on and on, really working. I say working, remembering and letting myself, to the best of my ability, you know, love this very vulnerable little child that seems to be so impacted by, it's so raw, it's just so easily impacted by my own stuff and listening to other people. And I just realized I've just got to keep coming back and reassure it and love it. And yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
You don't got to do that. That will happen because you know that that's appropriate. So you don't really have to work at it as such. It will happen. You have the perspective, you see it, and that's all it takes. Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like I have to remember it because, you know, it sort of builds and builds. What can I do about it? You know, the fixer.
Yeah.
The fixer comes in, you know, and wants to make it all just better like that. But of course, that would be up here.
Of course.
And I've really just got to let it.
And you see that too. Yeah.
Mm.
So you don't even got to let it. It's going to happen by itself, or it's not. But it will. It will, because there's a whole lot of circumstances that make it so to speak. The fact that you're here, the fact that you're thinking about these things, the fact that this is of interest to you, they're all, and the fact that you're able to do it, the fact that you haven't got Alzheimer's or you haven't got brain damage or whatever, you know, all of these are conditions that are involved in that happening that will spontaneously, seemingly spontaneously happen. No work required.
I guess the work is the is remembering to put the attention back on me, because the lifelong habit has been very much
True. Okay,
out there.
think about that though. That's a bit of a weird one, isn't it? So can you decide to remember? And if you do decide to remember, will you remember?
It
Right.
definitely feels like that. I mean, I'm
Right.
very aware, because then we started, then there was a discussion about, do we have decisions or not, and I can see at an intellectual level, we probably don't have control and decision making, we don't have that agency. However, I'm also aware that, however, well, I've heard a lot of people say, however awake you are, you still live as if you have choice. You still make choices. You don't think, oh, I'm not going to make a choice because it's going to be made for me somehow. So it's where I am at the moment, still feels like it still feels like there's a choice. Do I just switch off and just go off and do something else, which in many ways would be the easier and most comfortable in the moment?
You couldn't do that. You might think you could, but you couldn't.
No, well, I haven't. So
Well, there's the proof that you couldn't.
yeah, I know.
You haven't. Yeah.
But that's where I am at the moment, and it feels valuable for me to be able to remember a bit more often than I used to be able to.
So let's just look at that a little bit closer. I mean, this is a hurdle that I want to get you over the other side of. Right? This idea that look, I don't have any argument with that. It feels like you've got to remember. But how many times have you told yourself you've got to remember and you didn't? It slipped your mind. I mean, if you're human like all of us, that will have happened multiple times.
It has, yes, in the past, it's happened so much. It seems to have been a repetitive thing, but of more recent times, because I'm so much more embedded now in this investigation, perhaps at a deeper level, I remember I am remembering much more often. I think some of the problem is, and I was just thinking, in the mornings, even if I slept well, even if I've had nice dreams, and even if I get up feeling good, which is, sometimes that happens and sometimes it doesn't. As Rowena would say, the feeling tone, I'm very aware of that. Quite often I think, oh, this is great, I'm feeling fine, and I have my breakfast and do what I have to do, and I can just feel this anxiety just coming up. Now, what I used to do was just think, oh, for heaven's sake, this is ridiculous. Just get on and do things, and then eventually through the day, it would I guess, dissipate, at least for a while. Now I'm trying to remember. Well, not trying to remember. I am remembering to sit there and feel it in as much time as I have to feel it. So that is really good, but it's still so uncomfortable. There's still this pull away from it.
Yeah, I get that. Could I suggest that what you do is you change the language for this one thing for the next week or so to remembering happens. Instead of saying, I remembered something, say, oh, remembering occurred, remembering happened. If you do that for 1 week, you will decondition some of this old idea that you've got about it's something that you do.
Okay, I've written it down because I know I could spin off and lose that. Yeah.
And you can actually apply that to a whole lot of anything that you imagine that you're doing willfully or consciously, if you like, the doing being the appropriate word, right? You can just apply that same process and just say, oh, well, such and such, it happened, instead of I did it. just to see what it feels like for a week. Because language is so powerful, and it is part of the conditioning that we've got that leads us to the illusion of a self. The language supports that illusion 100%. And it doesn't matter whether it's English or French or whatever language you want to come up with, they all do it. They all support the existence of that hallucination.
Also, I wanted to just add to that is, because I think you mentioned that something about remembering more often. The remembering to put where to put attention seems to come more often than in the past. So there's a switch into remember, like, so that's also happening because the remembering is becoming more of a default. It's becoming more part of the default mode network, if you like, from a scientific psychological perspective. So without anyone remembering, just
Yes, I think that's absolutely right. I don't dispute that. I think a lot of this is language. Yeah.
And the other thing is, I think you were mentioning, well, if about the question of choice, which is another discussion, but still it was like, I should make a choice, and then the problem is otherwise the choice is made for me. Well, it's not made for, no choice can be made for anyone. It just isn't, it seems as if choices are made, but you can never find a maker of a choice. It's just an organization of, oh, that's a choice, or people coming from the past saying you've got to make a choice between this and this, but somehow it's already from all the prior, let's say, use the word conditioning and experiences, choices get made by no one for no one. I don't know if that's
yeah, I guess I mean, I know all that, I've experienced all that, but the experience here most of the time is still very much of agency.
Would you know, when you are talking to yourself or thinking of yourself, would you know that that experience would be without the thought of it being so? Like, I've got to make a choice. How would it be? Or I made this choice. How would it be without there being a recognition or an like a thinking? How would it be without the thought I made a choice?
I think I'm very much aware that choices are just happening, and I don't think about them nearly as much as I used to.
So could it be any different with agency? Could you find an agent?
No, I think it's just a very, very, very long habit that's taking a long, long time to, you know, to dissipate, really. Well, you know, I've got sort of 50 plus years of, you know, I mean, my story is really the only reason I feel I've actually survived is just through sheer bloody holding myself together and learning this strategy, that tool. You know, if I hadn't had all those things, and if I hadn't pulled myself out of the hole all those times, I wouldn't be here. So it's, you know, it's like it's such a strong thing, it appears to be, that, you know, even though it has just gone overnight on a couple of occasions, you know, the default seems to be, you know,
Yeah.
so I'm trying not to think about, unless something fairly new comes up, I'm trying not to think about it too much and just keep going back down.
Yeah. So you do 1,000 things every day that you do without even realize you're doing them. Right? Can you remember standing in front of that chair you're sitting in and turning around and putting your bum down into that chair? Can you, did that just happen? Or did you choose to do that?
Yeah, obviously loads and loads of things happen that I don't choose to. Most things I don't choose, but about
But if you
things,
stopped and you said somebody was standing there with you and they said, why didn't you sit in that other chair over there? You could quite legitimately say, but I chose this one. But you know that choice is just a story that you've applied to the situation afterwards. It's not an actual choice. It just is in retrospect a choice, because we're getting into something else here, because you imagine that it could have been done a different way. So therefore you describe it as a choice. And I mean, that's an example, just walking across the room, right? You just do it. There is this idea that you're going to get to the other side of the room for some reason, and it happens. And if you look back at it, you could describe it as, oh, I had a choice to either stay in the chair or to get up and walk across the room. But the reality is, it happened. The reality is that you got up and you walked across the room. It was a happening. Everything is just a happening. And if you can notice 2 or 3 of those kind of happenings every day for the next week, say, where you acknowledge to yourself that there's something I would have described as a choice, or as having intention, or as having made a decision. I would have described it that way, but I am now going to describe it as simply a happening. Just do that 3 times a day, every day, along with the other thing we asked you, and see what happens. You know, it doesn't matter that that's a habit of 50 years or a habit of 80 years or whatever. Those, you know, they can go away in an instant, or they can take a while. Doesn't matter.
yeah, and I can see all that. The more relaxed I am, the more I can see it. But yeah, I'm very aware that the more anxious I am, the more in my head I am, and it's much more difficult to actually see that. It literally feels like a different person.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. And, you know, as much as there's a temptation to say, well, that one is not good and this one is good, they're both just happenings. And so rather than have a judgment or an opinion about it, the most productive relationship you can have with it is a bit of humor, a bit of curiosity. With humor and curiosity go together, you know. Humor can be, you know, oh, isn't that interesting? You know, it makes you want to smile when you discover things. It's the yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, I can feel some I can feel, yeah, I'm definitely feeling anxious. I feel some anger coming up now, because everything you're saying to me, I've said to myself 1,000 times before, but it still feels at this moment that I'm still stuck where I always have been. And I know what you said, you know, and I don't feel like this all the time, but when these feelings come up, it's like there's almost a stubbornness. Yes, but that's what I really feel. And don't tell me I don't really feel it, because I do really feel it, you know? And it's like, again, this is the angry child coming out saying,
Yeah,
yes, I
sure, yeah.
know, I know, I know. But
Lindy, Lindy, it took me a long time, and even responses to Vince also earlier on. I had a serious child, and I just couldn't. It was, my story was serious, and my efforting was serious, and so it's just honoring that. It's so honoring that anger, honoring the more it's like, okay, so, or for me, it was like, how does seriousness feel in the body, and just feeling something that didn't feel like laughing. But then it sort of morphed, and it often became soft, and it's like, it's not really serious. It's not that I'm serious, and it's not bad to be serious, but I'm not even serious. It's just, there's something a little bit more sad there that wasn't joyful and laughing. And so it's really beautiful that you see all those little reactions, because they're really, really alive and really present.
Mm. And it's really bloody funny, some of those things we take so seriously, that we take them seriously. That's hilarious sometimes.
Eventually, but it doesn't, eventually it is. But those feelings lying down, which have been protecting you for so long, all your life, you know, to get you out of all those experiences of all the suffering and things, they all have to be, you know, welcomed and felt, and, you know, just allowed to move in their own way. So little by little, there's a sort of disentanglement, and then the joyousness, you know, is that's already present, can emerge through them.
So if you just imagine an angry child, angry about something, and they're angry to the point where they're crying, and you envelop them, and they might resist when you first try to give them a hug. You envelop them in your arms, and you just give them a nice, safe, soft place to rest for a moment while they're angry, not trying to stop them being angry. But guess what happens? You know, that anger just changes into something else. So each time you feel any kind of hardness or sharpness coming up in yourself, I want you to imagine that you're giving it a warm, loving embrace, and just waiting for it to calm. And when it's calm, it will be able to see that what it was angry about was probably not nearly serious enough to be that angry.
yeah, I do that again. Yeah. When the remembering happens, that is the main focus of my practice, for the want of a better word.
Good stuff. And I want to put a badge on you for that one. When that remembering happens, definitely I'll send you a certificate for that. That was great. Yeah.
I'm just putting in the chat, there's an amazing documentary on Amazon on Prime Video called The Work, and it was actually people who have you seen it?
Yes, I have. Yes, wonderful. Wonderful.
And to show the extent, these prisoners, and they've got you know, some psychologists or people who are really tapped into understanding trauma and emotions, and what it took, the holding of, you know, grown men, a group, it took to allow, you know, one person to touch into the pain and the anguish and the grief of something that happened in their life that they had created such a shell around. It was very, very moving. I think to show the extent to which, you know, we protect ourselves.
It was that that really kicked me into the latest round of trauma work. Interestingly, yeah.
I
It does,
remember
you know,
one.
at times it does feel like it's never ending, but you know, you just got to keep on tracking, haven't you?
You mean tracking will keep on happening? Yes. Yeah. And Ramez was going to say something then, and it reminded me when you said it seems like it's going to keep on happening forever. He also said that. Yeah.
At the beginning, when I was trying to feel my feelings, I would sit and the feeling I had disappeared. Like, where's the feeling? And I asked this question on Facebook group, and I said, like, what I'm doing wrong? Like, the feelings, when I try to feel them, they disappear. And there was a comment like, right now I'm starting to feel what he means, and he said, when the children are quiet, observe the parents. And it feels like, even now when I try to be with the feelings, it feels like this, like if there's an image in my head, like a mother like trying to calm her child by like shaking him very bad, and she's so annoyed that he's crying. Will you fucking shut up in this energy, you know? And it's like she's trying to soothe him by so he could be quiet in a way. And it feels like there's this hidden agenda that I'm looking through something without knowing I'm looking through it. It's like having a mask, and I notice the mask, and I take the mask off, and I look at the mask, but slowly there's another mask like creeps in, and I'm looking through this mask, and I'm not noticing this mask. I'm just looking here, and I'm expecting something to happen here. And I don't know where I'm going with this. This is what's coming up.
Yeah, that's good stuff though. Yeah, it's all exploration, isn't it?
Can I jump back in, because I've had a bit of an insight, just briefly, from what we talked about. I think this "what can't I stomach" is a really good one. And I think what it is I can't stomach abandoning my inner child anymore. And that's what I feel I've got to do when I go and see my stepdaughter, because the wall is a wall of fear and, I wrote down, anger. Yeah. And that's what I have to feel. I think I'm putting that wall up to protect my inner child. So that's the dilemma. That's the dilemma, this wall, that my angry child doesn't feel safe in that environment. And that feeling of unsafeness and anxiety has been felt so much in my life, I can't stomach it anymore. It makes me ill. And that's the dilemma I'm dealing with. But that's quite a bit, that seems quite a big insight for me, that I've been given the answer to what can't I stomach. What I do with that, how I resolve that, I don't know.
You love it.
Perhaps, yeah. I feel that's what I'm trying to do more and more. That's my practice, really, is to love those parts of me.
Mm.
But I think the adult in me, because I've been looking a lot at child mother parts, is a rescuer. And because I have got a lot of knowledge and skills in that area, you know, I rescue and the inner child feels threatened. Like when her mother rang up this morning, there's no question that I wouldn't answer the phone, because if I didn't answer the phone, I'd feel bad for not answering the phone to give help, because I know she needs it. I know how she feels, or I think I do. And I think this part, the inner child, don't like that, because it's bringing people in that are unsafe. And it took me a long time to get out the people that weren't safe, like my husband. And yeah, so it's kind of cracked that open. And I don't know, I still don't know how I could be with my daughter, and it's such a big thing for me, going back into those environments where there's dishonesty and hardness.
When you do go into that environment, the thing to watch is how that influences your own hardness and your own distancing and your own protective things that you do. So you can't for a moment think you can change them or fix them.
No,
or anything like that.
I think the truth is I feel angry with her. I feel angry, and I'm trying to love her when I'm there. But
so
there's anger.
what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to sit down and write a letter that you probably won't ever send. You don't need to send it, but writing out everything that you're angry about. Write down all of those points on a piece of paper and polish them a bit, move them around so that you've got them as a list of what you're most angry about at the top of the page, and and as it gets less and less, go down the page, and then rewrite that list if needed to do that, just to get everything out on paper about what you're angry about. And then when you're finished, have a break, at least an hour or two, and then go back and read them again, look at them again.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I need to start some dialogue with this when I'm not with her.
Yeah. Write it down like that in the safety of your own, your own private space.
So I'm not having
absolutely 100%
down.
honest. You can't do that if you're speaking to her, but writing it down, you can be brutally honest. Absolutely.
Yeah, because I know speaking into I'm sometimes just speaking into the microphone to keep a dialogue going, so I'm not bottling things up, and that does work. Because sometimes things need to be talked about, and there isn't someone there to talk about it. So that's what I'm doing, and that's a good idea. Thank you, Vince.
Definitely. If you're doing that with say, have you got an iPhone you do it with, or what?
I've got a microphone app on my phone.
Right.
I sometimes record meetings.
Yes.
If people
so when you're speaking it's going to translate it into written text. Is that right? That's what mine does.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't do that. No.
Oh, okay. Just keeps you as an
I
audio.
never listen to the back anyway. It's just getting it out there. So by talking, sometimes more than writing, it's as if you're talking to someone. You start to have insights just by talking about it. You don't have to be talking to someone. I'm talking and it unravels my mind. Just like, I learned to do journaling it's like vomiting all your mind and thoughts on paper that seems a mess. And then when you journal it, it can get, you can get a lot of answers from that. So I'm doing the same, but I'm doing it into the microphone.
Right.
Because it seems a bit more powerful, because I never read journaling back or listen to my voice notes back, but the fact that I'm getting it out of my head, which you're reminding me of and suggesting with the list, it's like, stop trying to push this down and get it out, say it out.
And then when you look back at it or re-listen to it, and I know you said you haven't been doing that, but I suggest it's a good thing to do. Not the whole thing necessarily, but bits and pieces of it. I mean, I can talk into my computer and have it write text about what I'm saying, and it'll get it. Sometimes it'll get it a bit wrong, right? But right. So, and this recording, well, one of the recordings that I do for these meetings, I get a transcript, and it can do it a bit wrong, but it's there. It is in text, and when you read it, it's really different to when you said it.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. I bet there's a microphone, because I've noticed that with, at most Zooms they have a transcript, and with your meetings, the transcript, they do get it a bit wrong. But and even with our Dream app, when I say it into that and it's different, I wonder if there's a microphone app that might transcript it as well. I might look for that. There must be something that will do it.
Have you got Microsoft products or Apple products?
Apple.
Okay, I've got Apple. Okay, so open up Notepad and press Function D.
Oh, Notepad. I don't know where Notepad is.
Oh well, it's there. It's on.
Right. Okay. So I'll look for Notepad after this. After the meeting.
Yeah,
and
just
then I'll
do a search for it,
D.
and you'll see it. It's a yellow icon.
I've seen that Notepad come up before. I've just never used it. And then it's D.
Function D. The bottom left-hand corner key on the keyboard. FN. Function D. If it got it, that'll turn on the dictation. The first time you do it, it might ask you to accept that you want dictation to use the microphone, but after that you can talk at it and it will type whatever you're saying.
Oh yeah, well I've got notes where I do type in what I say, but then on my notes it totally gets it wrong.
Yeah, I find certainly it'll get some things wrong, but you'll get you'll know what's been said when you read it, even if it gets wrong. Yeah.
The one I'm using, which is just yellow, and it says notes. It doesn't say Notepad.
Yeah. No,
actually,
that's right. It's just notes. That's right. That's the one.
Yeah. But no, that one won't do that for me. If I just sat and said, "Oh, I was just thinking this and blah 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 blah," and then I've tried it, it reads back. I have to speak into it like I was just thinking this, and then there's no flow.
Okay, yeah, no.
But I tell you what, I have got a Dream app. There must be better ones, because on my Dream app, I can just talk into that and it takes it properly. Okay. I can just speak normally and it'll dictate it on into note.
Yeah, you got to be able to speak normally.
Yeah, I'll have a look. There must be something. That'll describe it as well. So if I have a look, that's a good idea.
So just do a search for speech to text.
Yeah, speech to text.
Yeah.
Or microphone and text and things. Yeah, I'll have a look. I'm usually quite good at finding things. So yeah. But yeah, it was just nice to see quite quickly. I mean, I wasn't looking or thinking, it just came up when someone was talking, and I just can't stomach having to cut off anymore, cut off that inner child, off that softness and
so you can see the realization of what you just said, that a decision happened as well, even though it's not really prominent, but the fact that I can't stomach it anymore is a way of saying I've decided not to. So that happening occurred.
Mm.
I just wanted to add to what Vince was saying is while you're doing the list and you're you know, writing out all your anger, just watch the sensations evolving, because you can also add, you might be you know, there might be a thought to say I'm angry at this because it makes me feel like that, and that can lead you into that inner child, the anger protection, and what that's an inroad into what's
That's a good idea. Yeah, just linking the anger to of you know, the blame to what blame to what it's making me feel. Yeah, that's a really good one. Good way in. Yeah, thank you. You know,
Treat it as an experiment. And then
I'm
you can
gonna,
do variations of it.
yeah. It's just given me a few ways in. That I spoke about. It's just given me a few ways in to look at it. Because initially when something comes up, it's the panic of like, oh God, I can't cope with this. How do I get out? And it's just all in the head. Whereas this is just like, no, we're going to deal with it. It's an experiment. It's an opportunity, and hopefully it won't close up again after the meeting. Hopefully I'll be able to keep it alive. I love these meetings.
coming home to myself.
Absolutely. Mm.
How have you been, Bianca?
I'd like to go back to the agency feeling. I've had few occasions, few situations in my life when I didn't have this feeling of agency. And I will give an example from elementary school. On one day, there was some occasion, and all the children in my class received a candy. And I unpacked the candy and started eating it. It was a hard candy, so it took a while. And a kid that was sitting next to me asked me, do you like it? And I said, yes, thank you. And then, for whatever reason, he asked it again. Do you like it? And I said, yes, thank you. And he asked the third time. And I said, yes, thank you. And he got interested. He asked some more times, and I couldn't say anything else. I couldn't react in any other way. He called his friend to show him, and he asked, do you like it? Yes, thank you. It was awful. This was when I didn't have a feeling of agency. And comparing to that, now, although I know everything that Vince was explaining, I don't have this feeling of lack of agency.
Yes, that's a real trick, because feeling like you don't have agency is not what is not a desirable thing. It's not what we're after here. When we say that there is no agency, we don't want you to feel helpless. We don't want you to feel like you have no agency. We want you to recognize that what you thought was agency is something else.
Yes, but I can understand that, you know, when Lindy or I are saying, I feel I have agency, it can just mean I don't feel like at that time.
Okay, yep. Okay, all right. Yeah, and I didn't even think of that one. Yeah, of course. Okay. Yeah.
So it's like a helpless, there's a helpless feeling.
Yes, having no agency is yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
so it's not exact, it's not an exact opposite. It's interesting to look at the, yeah, at the, there's a thought, well, if I'm in control and then I mean, that terrible situation that you had to live through when you were little, of course, there would be a decision being made. I'm never ever to get in that situation. I'm going to be in charge. I'm not going to ever let anyone, put me in such a situation. I can really see how.
Well,
protective
there was
mechanism.
no one was putting me in this situation.
No, but
It was
afterwards.
just the words were coming out of my mouth, and I had no control over it. And I wanted to say something different. I know he's making fun of me, but I am blank in my mind,
Yeah.
except for, yes, thank you.
It may not be accurate, but what comes to mind here is that was a freeze response.
Yeah.
It was you were put in a place of danger, and that was your response, was to freeze. Yeah.
No, I
No?
don't know what happened.
Yeah,
Really.
sure. Okay.
No labels. Seems
Yeah,
no
I think,
labels seem adequate.
I think, thank you very much for that, Bianca. I missed a little bit of that. When whatever it was you said before Vince said, oh, I hadn't thought of it like that. What was that? What was it you hadn't thought of it like, Vince?
That when you or I we are saying that I don't have a feeling of agency, it means that we are comparing, and this feeling now doesn't feel like that time when I had no control over the words coming out of my mouth.
Okay. I mean, certainly, I mean, that really chimed, I think what Rowena said, because if I feel I haven't got agency, this could be why I resist.
Yes.
Even though I can see it, I resist it, because that does feed into my feelings of helplessness, which was one of the big problems, it appears, in my childhood. I had to do exactly what I was told. I think, and that's why when anybody tells me to do anything, I take a step back and I won't just do it. I really have to decide whether that's good for me or not, because I was told everything I should do. I was told everything I should feel, and I was completely helpless as a child, the story tells me. And I think that's possibly why, even though the logical adult can see there probably isn't any agency.
Yeah. But
the reaction here is, yes, but I'm going to do it my way because actually I matter,
Yeah. Well, you don't want to feel that victim place again. But see, yeah, this is what I didn't realize. And when Bianca said it, it suddenly dawned on me, right, that I was looking at this idea of agency in a much too gross a manner, that in fact, that they're recognizing that there is no agency is not going to put you, there's no intention to put you in a place of being a victim again, where you feel helpless. That's right. See, they're not polar opposites as such. If you come at it from a place of having no agency, and then you discover a sense of agency, that feels like one came out of the other. Whereas when we're coming from imagining that you do have agency and recognizing that you don't, that doesn't take you into that place that you came out of as a helpless person.
Well,
I think it depends where you're coming at it from, doesn't it?
Yes. That's much more intricate than what I was originally thinking. Yes, for sure. Yeah. Sorry, Bianca. What were you?
It doesn't necessarily mean helpless. Other other example is what happened to me in meditation. At one time was I felt like all motivation to do anything just shut down, and there was no will to move, and it felt like even if I change my mind now and say, well, you have to stand up, I don't know, whatever. I need to walk with a dog.
Yeah, anything. Yeah.
I'm not able to, because there is no will, no motivation. And it wasn't unpleasant. I didn't feel like a victim. This is what is happening. I thought, well, probably if the dog really needs to go out, it will come to me and start licking me, and maybe the reaction will start itself. Or maybe not. It was very calm.
Yes, yeah. So there was no panic of helplessness involved. Yeah, that's an interesting one, isn't it? I wouldn't even think of that situation in terms of agency, though. You know, you as you put it, there was almost an overwhelming feeling of calm that took away the desire to do anything. Would you say?
I don't know. At that time, I was connecting with a feeling of tiredness, and I felt it was so deep that it was hot, and then it went away. Tiredness totally went away, and any motivation shut down.
Yeah.
And it was important experience for me because it showed me that I don't generate my motivation.
Mm-hmm.
Motivation happens.
Yeah. Well put. Yeah.
But I think in general, is where when this will or motivation, what I want agrees with what I do, then it's hard to not have a feeling
Yes.
of agency.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And because only in the situation where I want to do something different, but somehow no one is forcing me, but I'm doing something opposite. Then there's this feeling. This body is just doing whatever it wants.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? You know, how reactions differ to which part you're coming from at that moment. Because, yeah, some things can be said. And if I'm really an adult and, you know, everything's fine. Yep, I absolutely get that. Yeah, that's fine. But if the child is triggered, it's such a different experience internally, and therefore the response is very different. I mean, that's not rocket science, but, you know, that's kind of just
Yeah.
popped
No,
into my
that
head.
makes a lot of
And
sense.
how obvious that is in a way.
Mm. If something that's been happening for me a lot for quite a while now is that I'll be, let's say I'm walking through the kitchen and my gaze falls on an empty glass sitting on the sink. And immediately I feel I need to get a drink. But see, I recognize that it was the accidental eyes resting on the glass that triggered me to want a drink. I mean, I may have wanted one anyway, but I wasn't aware of it. And then when I saw the glass, that went, yeah, I'll do that. Or if I see things all over, all day, every day, as I walk around or don't walk around, things jump up in front of me that basically determine what happens next. And
Yeah, I mean, you know, again, theoretically, you know, I absolutely get it. You know, the way this, whatever this is, seems like is like one of those domino
yes,
formations.
exactly.
I can absolutely see it. Of course, everything is response to something else,
Yep.
and we'll never ever get to the bottom of it. But you know, that's where this whole free will business comes in, which I found fascinating. You know, I've been curious about it and looking into it for getting on for 10 years now. You know, and although I sort of feel I've settled that here, it's a completely different story when.
Yep. Have you seen that video where the researcher's got the bloke in the MRI machine and he's asking him questions, and the man operating the MRI knows by which part of the brain gets lit up what the decision is going to be, and there's a delay of about 6 seconds sometimes before the person themselves realize what they were going to choose. Have you seen that video?
I haven't seen that one, but I've seen something similar where people are asked to choose and they're wired up and
Yep. Yep.
the decision's made before they say it. Yeah.
Yeah. So what that points to me is that the brain is part of that myriad of conditions that are around, and it makes, and this is just the language thing again, it makes a decision based on what it knows, what the information that it's got, that includes history and previous experience and maybe knowledge, other facts that have been, it's been shown, read or heard or whatever. But all of those things that are involved all come to this thing of a decision being made. And then the brain, somehow or other, it reaches a person's frontal cortex and they go, oh yeah, I'm going to move my left hand, not my right hand or something. Yeah? It's really intriguing stuff, but it's another classic of how it's that response thing that we do all the time, that actually we'd interpret it as a decision or a choice.
Yeah, I've noticed that as well, quite a bit. And I've been putting it down to bad memory, but I think it's more than that, where I make an absolute decision to do something. Oh yeah, I'll look at that next, and it's an absolute decision. And then later in the day, I'll remember that I've made that decision but didn't do it. But it was an absolute decision that I wasn't in control of. And it's kind of shocking me at the time. It's like, ooh, that's new.
I think it's hilarious. It is.
Yeah, just little glimmers of like, yeah, I'm not doing this even though it seems like I am.
Yeah.
And just try to notice and not force when that's happening, but notice it, like, oh yeah, I'm not in charge.
That stimulates for me this thought that what we're doing with that recognition that there's that agency is an illusion, is we're actually replacing it with trust that things can work out, things can still be okay without us having to do it. And that's why we don't get into that seemingly opposite thing of having no agency, that helpless feeling of no agency. We don't get there because we replace the idea of agency with the sense that everything will work itself out, because in fact it always has. It's that, like that, and we're not getting rid of a self, we're just realizing it never existed.
I think trust.
And there's a great thing in, sorry, Lindy.
I think trust's a very big thing here.
Mm-hmm.
Again, like I said, the domino thing, yeah, but there's also trust. I mean, it could go anyway, but I think underlying that for me, there's a very big lack of trust, and that, I think that's something that's always been there, really, that started when I was very young. I really just don't trust that things are going to be okay.
Yeah. Well, what with my reaction to that is that I imagine that as a child you lived in a very authoritarian atmosphere, and that's just what I imagine, and that you got this idea about having to pull yourself up by the bootstraps from that atmosphere that you lived in, and that was part of that. So that's really operating much more from this survival part of the brain than this other part. And so, and what you're doing now, and the other way to look at it is you're moving from left brain, which is the control side of your brain, to right side of your brain, which is the much more
creative,
artistic, poetic, trusting, open, loving side of your brain. That's part of what we do with this process. We shift operation in where it works in the brain a bit.
Yeah, I definitely, yeah, I'm definitely a very much a left brainer. Yeah,
Yep.
I think that's where the serious bit, you know, that Rowena was mentioning earlier, and everything as well. You know, I find
Yep.
it doesn't seem that I lighten up very easily. You know, I take things very seriously. I was brought up to be incredibly responsible, incredibly dutiful.
Yep.
You know, and so before I did anything, it was should I or shouldn't I be doing this? I mean, literally just so ingrained.
Yeah.
You know, almost to the point where my life was just a series of stop and think, should I, shouldn't I? Should I, shouldn't I?
Yeah.
Very like that. And because it happens so young, I think that's pretty well hardwired into the brain, really. So it does take quite a while to untangle these things when they're embedded.
So when
you
live in that authoritarian environment, you basically operate according to rules. You don't get to discover spontaneity because you're too busy putting the crease in your pants, so to speak.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, if I did anything spontaneously, I think it often went down like a lead balloon with my family.
Yeah, oh yeah. We couldn't have that. That's chaos. Yeah.
There's a brilliant thing in AA and the 12-step program where, you know, and the amount of recovery from practical death is amazing worldwide through AA. So, you know, it's a great beginning program, and it's a spiritual program as well. But there's this, you know, when you go in, you realize that the way you're controlling your life has really fucked you up, but you don't know what to do about it. So part of the program is handing your power over to a higher power, whether that be God or Buddha or nature or the cosmos. And that's what works, basically, once you can get people to do it. And then, you know, later on, you know, for me, I can remove what I'm calling the higher power. It's just not the ego self running the show anymore. It's just I'm trusting in the universe to run my life. But there's a great joke there where somebody says, but I don't believe in God. And he said, well, it'll work even if you hand your power over to that chair. And he says, what do you mean hand my power over to a chair? It's because it'll do a fucking better job than you've made of your life, won't it?
Yeah, good one. Yeah.
And just easing that sense of control that's something else, and what a gift something else is in control as an initial, you know, takes thorn to remove a thorn type of thing. Then you can remove that thorn of belief as well. But it's proven, I mean, miraculously, from people with one liver, one kidney, you know, suicidal to a full life. It's proven that they get their trust back in something other than themselves.
Yeah, I'm
Can I just
tell you, you wouldn't believe it. Sorry, yeah, you wouldn't believe it, but I'm actually coming towards the end of a year doing something separate to this called a surrender course. Which I have really too, you know, I've got quite ambivalent feelings about it, really. But yeah, it is quite hard. Not things have to get really bad before remembering happens to hand it over. You know, when you get to the point of oh my God, I just don't know what to do. This is really awful. I'm just at the end of my resources to, you know, to deal with this either internally or externally. Hand it over, and the relief is quite amazing when you do. I've no idea who I'm handing it over to. It depends on the day, really.
Yeah.
No,
but there is, but again, it's the remembering.
Yeah.
That seems to fall short.
You can train your brain to remember, and basically what you do is when remembering happens, celebrate that remembering. and have a laugh. That's the best way you can celebrate it, because that changes the hormones in your body. And if you keep doing that, every time remembering happens and you realize you've remembered, celebrate it with a laugh.
But then remembering to laugh has to happen. And you only mentioned this a couple of months ago. I only heard it for the first time. So, you know,
Yeah,
give me a few years.
yeah, that's
You
right.
can say thank you, thank you, thank you. I remembered.
Yeah, yeah.
Vince gave
beauty of
me
it
an
is,
exercise,
yeah.
and I put it on my phone every hour to train myself.
Yeah, well,
You
that
just put
gets
an alarm, put an alarm on your phone every 3 hours. Remember to ask, are these thoughts useful? That's what mine was, but it's quite good. Kind of retrains your brain.
Mm,
I
Yeah.
don't know how to do that. I'll need to look at my phone.
Oh, it's really easy. Yeah, you just go into your clock.
I haven't got Apple though, but
Yeah, you can
I
find
expect I
an app.
could do it.
just
You can
a
find
reminder. Yeah, all the
So-
phones that have reminders, I'd imagine.
Mm.
Expect so.
I can't do anything without alarms. They go off all day because I've got a memory of a fish. You know, it's a
Yeah,
3
yeah,
second.
yeah. I'm a bit like that too. Yeah.
And with non-duality, I think your memory gets worse anyway. Bye, Rowena.
Bye.
Can I
Bye.
just mention the thing? Because I'm getting these sort of dominoes and waiting to come in with them because it seems so relevant. And another one's happened, which is, so now Vince suggests the list with the anger thing, and then there's another door opened, and it's like, I'm like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. But then there's another part of like has come in after that says, no, that's not such a good idea, because I'm scared. I'm scared of my anger.
Did you
I'm
say
scared.
something?
You
Sorry,
see,
I
you're
can't.
not happening, leaving isn't happening, Rowena.
No, I thought I heard somebody saying something, and so I came back. But no, okay, I'm off.
Bye.
Bye.
And it was a bit of a light bulb moment that like, now we're getting somewhere. You're scared of your anger. Because when I met my husband, I was very fiery. I mean, in astrology, I'm all fire signs. So, but I learned that honesty and directness didn't work for me with him. And I wanted to be more like him, which was non-confrontational. And so I kind of learned to shut up, which was good to some degree. I needed to, took the rough edge off me. But now there's a part of me that like, I don't know what it is about this anger that I don't want to voice. And I'll have to experiment with it. But initially it's like, oh, I don't know if I'll be able to do that. You know, I'm a bit scared of that anger. I'm a bit scared of seeing that side of myself and judging it as bad, because he judged it as bad. So I learned that from him.
I think we internalize the voices, don't we, of all the people that have had influence over us.
Absolutely.
You know, I think it's you know, I've certainly got my parents in my head. And then I've got a particular friend in my head, you know. I think I've mainly managed to avoid that from partners, but you know, I mean, that's quite enough. Thank you very much. You know.
Yeah,
we do that.
That part's ugly, you know. That's an ugly part. It's not feminine. It's dangerous, you know. It can hurt people. The angry part. It can lose control. So yeah, it's judgmental. It's blamey. There's nothing good in it. You'll get into the habit of it again. All of that, and then you'll just go back to being angry a lot. A bit like what good is
anger's a wonderful feeling. If you know, if you don't feel a very powerful person, when you feel anger and you feel there's a good reason for it, a righteous anger.
You feel powerful.
Yeah, my God, it's the most wonderful feeling. It really is
Yeah.
the most wonderful feeling in the world. And if you feel you're
Oh,
right,
yeah.
you actually don't really care very much what you
And,
end up
and look,
doing.
let me
You know,
tell you,
your inhibitions go.
Mm.
as somebody who used to feel anger every single day, start off with frustration and turn into anger, I recognize that there is a high in it. You can get
Yes,
high when I'm angry.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. It can be addictive. And the other
Yeah.
thing is it oh, what was I going to say? With my daughter, when she kept not turning up for dinner, mine, and I'd cooked and everything, and 5-minute notice, she's not coming, and some anger came out involuntarily, which was really interesting to see, but what a relief, because it wasn't angry blaming. What came out of my mouth is, my time is valuable. And that felt so good to say that. It was, I didn't have agency in that one. It just came out. I almost wanted to push it back in, but the relief of saying that, yeah, it's like, no, the relief.
That's
That's
really
a bit
good.
like,
Funny, that one.
who said that? Who said that? Where
Yeah.
did that come from? But it was a massive relief to say that to her, and it landed, you know, because it was the truth. Well, there's no truth, but you know what I mean. It was a release, yeah. So yeah.
I think, I mean, in some ways, I live on my own now. In some ways, I'm quite relieved that I do, just because I haven't got any poor person to be really angry with. But having said that, when I do get angry, you know, is turn back in on myself, because anger happens.
Yeah,
It's not
yeah.
always to do with something. Anger happens for things get poked in it.
Yep.
And you'll
Yep.
go, and of
Flares
course
up,
you
yeah.
turn it back on yourself, which again, when I was a child, I had to do that. I mean,
Mm.
I just, you know, there literally wasn't anything else to do with it. You felt it, and what did you do with it? And I think naturally children turn it back on themselves. And I notice I do that a lot, but that is something that's quite good. I feel slightly less irritated every day than I did even a month or two ago. So that's good. Just reflecting on when you asked Kelly what's changed for her, what's changed for me. You know, if I'm in a good place, I could probably think of think of one or two things. But that's just come to me. Yeah. You know, just sort of just feeling irritated almost as a habit.
Yep.
That's actually loosened, and I don't know why, because I haven't particularly done any anger work. So it does just show that, you know, just keep on doing what you're doing, feeling all the feelings,
and the fact that
know.
you notice that change is really significant. That your awareness is heightened. You know, it's great.
I mean, I've got very high awareness because I'm so I mean, you know, hyper vigilant for reasons that you know I said when I was really young. So I think that, you know, but the interesting thing for me is when I say I don't know where I am with all this, you know, I feel I don't know where I am with it. But I'm also aware that when things do change, the me might not necessarily notice it, because you know, because this is so beyond, if this is beyond the mind, how does the thought me, that the false me, how do I actually know where it's going? And I never used to understand it when people used to say, oh, you know, I suddenly realized I haven't been suffering for a couple of months. I think, what? I'd know immediately if I wasn't suffering for an hour. I'd be out, yay! but of course, it's because the me has taken backseat, or it isn't there anymore, that I wasn't actually there to notice it. And it's a hell of a concept to get your head around.
Yeah,
but I find it quite comforting, and actually not knowing where I am isn't really much of a big deal. I mean, it's interesting to know, and I will ask people, where do you think I am? What do you think I might need to do next, perhaps? But
if they don't tell you to not do anything, they're not giving you the right advice.
And there's also lots of times in the day where there isn't a me there, but there's no one to notice it.
Mm.
You only notice when the me comes back, but actually there's no me there anyway. And I notice a lot more when a day goes by and then the me comes back. And it's like obvious that, oh, it's back, because it's not been there. That switch from no me to me becomes more obvious, because you can't notice it, as you said, Lindy, when it's not there. And loads of people that have woken up say, to be honest, I didn't know I'd woken up. I just, the problems were just not there anymore, because there's no me to recognize.
Yeah.
You know, like just what you were saying there, Lindy, that there's no observer anymore. Just this.
Yeah. So it's an interesting, it's an oxymoron. We can't notice what's not there.
Yeah.
So when things are going great, we're not aware of anything. It's just things are going great. It's only when they stop going great that we go, oh, okay. Or if we try and remember when things weren't going great and it's a long way back in our memory, then we can say, oh, yeah, I haven't been suffering for a while. Yeah.
Like the other day, I was talking.
Yeah.
Like the other day, I was talking to Kelly, you know, about, she was talking to me about her belief in God, and I was saying, and whether that would go away. And I was saying, well, you can't have belief without unbelief. You can't have one without the other, because you've got to not believe to believe, and you've got to believe to not believe. So there's neither. You know, that's where God sort of went out of the picture here, because it's only a conceptual belief in something.
Yeah, I think it's just the name. What I mean by that, it's just actually come, is it, and it was talked earlier in meeting, you know, just going forward with trust, going forward with like, with love. That's kind of like what I'm doing. That's kind of like my God. God's just a name that we put on it.
Yep.
But there can't be a belief in anything conceptual.
I'll leave that to that. What is it?
Yeah, that's a whole other subject, that one. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll leave that till then. I'm sticking on lower fetters at first.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Yeah, but we were talking about it the other day. That's why I brought it up, because it is the higher fetters where the belief drops, because you see the unreality of belief.
I think reconditioning kind of comes up in as well, because obviously I'm an alcoholic as well, and and I'm so grateful that I got sober, because I didn't think I could. It's kind of like handing your power over to a higher power, what we were on about earlier, and it's doing that. So I've been used to kind of doing that. And then it's like, oof, that might be took away from me. That feels quite scary.
Oh yeah, no, that won't be taken away from you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the only problem with the word God is the associations people have with the man in the sky with the beard from a Christian point of view.
Yeah.
I mean, otherwise it's, God is just as good a name for higher power.
The mystery of it all.
The mystery, absolutely. It's just, I think a lot of us who sort of have been through the Christian thing, and a lot of people, of course, have had tremendous problems with that, unfortunately.
But there can still be that subtle belief in a something that's got agency, something like God, higher power, Buddha, the universe. Is still a subtle belief in a conceptual something having reality, whereas the mystery doesn't have, it's not a something. well, it's still a concept. Do you believe in God, Vince?
Do I believe? I mean, the short answer is no, but see, this is what I'm saying. This discussion about belief, or this recognition of how we respond to what we believe in, is a whole other subject. It's a big one. It's one for a whole night, not just a couple of words.
Yeah.
So the short answer is everything I can't know about, I just put into a giant mystery bag. It's like Santa Claus's bag, only it's a much, much bigger bag, and it's full of the mystery of everything I can't know about. And I can't know for a whole lot of reasons, because I've only got a puny human brain, and it's not capable of understanding the absolute reality, whatever that is. So it's all a mystery, and I'm really happy for it to be to remain a mystery. I don't need to know. So is there so when you ask me, do I believe in a God, that's a different question to say, do you think there is a God? And that's an unequivocal, I don't know, and I can't know. I have there's nothing
Exactly.
that,
Yeah. Totally. Yeah.
it's just a mystery. But I
So,
mean, how a tree grows is also just a mystery.
so in the life prior to the Vince we know today, how did you feel about yourself? Were you because for me, a lot of this all comes down to how we feel about ourselves. You forget the language, but you know what I mean.
I get what you're asking. Yeah, no, I was faulty. Definitely faulty.
You were what?
I was faulty.
Mm.
There were problems there. There were, I spent a lifetime trying to find a better me. And I had moments where I thought I'd found a better me, but they didn't last. I'm pretty happy with this one.
This one can stay.
So are we.
This illusion I've got, about what's actually going on. Yeah, I've got some good stories I believe in. I'm going to pull the plug. It's 10 to midnight here, and I've got to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning for another one. Yeah. But yeah, look, it's been
lovely.
It's been great. We could never stop, we could keep on going forever. But yeah.
Beautiful.
All right. I'll see.
Thanks, everybody.
So much love.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.